Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show y'all what to look for when you're purchasing an old car. And I'm going to be using my Charger and my truck over here as an example. When you just need to give the car a really good once over. Check the hood. Check under the hood, check the wiring, make sure the wiring's mostly there and mostly intact if possible. Check for rust damage. And for everyone wondering, this is why I didn't mind cutting the hole in the hood. Because it's got really bad rust damage up underneath and it was rusting from the inside out. And on top of that, a lot of these spots where the hood's supposed to be glued to the support is all off of it anyway, so I didn't mind cutting a hole in the hood. But you need to just look around everywhere, make sure everything's there, make sure nothing's broken or cracked, and look really close, because I forget where it is. I think yeah, it's right here. You need to look for evidence like this, because if you see that, it's probably a good indication that the vehicle was in an accident. And look at the core support. You can see mine is really bent bad. Look for evidence like that it's been in a wreck. And don't be afraid to get down to the ground and look at the floorboards. Mine are obviously bad. At least the driver's side's bad. I think the passenger side is actually good. And the trunk floor is really bad. You just can't see it because they got the gas tank in the way. And the B bodies are really bad about rusting out back here, right underneath the window, really bad, and in the corners, right here and over there. And if you have a vinyl top car, you need to look out for rust damage underneath the top if it still has the top. Now, if you can see it from underneath, but right there and right there on the other side is where I had to put Bondo patch, and I put duct tape up there to hold the Bondo so I didn't have to weld it in. You can actually see it a little bit right here, like right there. And yeah, the B bodies are really bad about rusting out back there behind the window and in the trunk, because my trunk is gone. And the frame rails, like I said, don't be afraid to get under the ground and look. I need to patch this frame rail because it's got some holes. It's got some got a couple of bad spots in it. It's not really too bad, but I need to definitely patch this one. I think the other side's actually fine. I need to clean them up, but they don't. I think one of them is actually not that bad. And check the suspension. One of my leaf springs has actually got a broken leaf on the bottom. So you need to check the suspension. Check the interior to see if the interior is all there. But if it's not, it's missing a few pieces, you can always find those. It's always better if it has all the interior. And on the tack and on your gauges right there, block the sun right there. There we go. Where I have my tack right here on the left, some of these cars had what they called a tick-tock tack, which was a clock and tachometer built in. My car only had the clock, and it didn't work, so I pulled it out and put a aftermarket tack right there in the hole, and it fit perfectly. And mechanical can always be worked on, but it's a plus if everything's working. But if all the gauges aren't working, until you get everything working, you can always put in a set of gauges like I have right there. But if the headliner's gone, it'll give you a really good chance to inspect the structure on the inside. See if it's all good. Oh yeah, there's one of my magnets. I completely forgot about that. I got refrigerator magnets. I think that's one of my first cards. It's not going to focus on it. There we go. That's one of my first cards. Another thing to really look closely at is the bulkhead. Because Chrysler was really bad. The wiring was really bad on these cars. The alternator wire and the power wire would burn out. You can actually see right there evidence of getting really hot. And this wire that I have right here that y'all seen is the main power wire that I've actually bypassed. My dad actually had it bypassed. He had a glass fuse in, and I put this in. He had this pigtail, and I just put it in. This is a 30 amp blade fuse. I don't know where to get these. We just had it, and I just put it in line. And I also have the alternator power wire going inside bypassed. But yeah, that's what to look for. Oh yeah, this is where your fender tag should be. I don't have mine. It should be right there where those screws are. Mine was gone years ago. I really wish I still had it. But if it's an original car, the build sheet might be underneath one of the seats inside the springs, most likely under the inside the spring on the back seat. Could be in the bottom of the back seat, could in the back of the back seat, or anywhere. You just have to start poking around and see if you can find it. But sadly, this isn't the original interior for my car, so I don't have the luxury of poking around to find it, unless it's stuffed inside the structure somewhere, which is still possible, but unlikely, very highly unlikely. But yeah, there it is. Some of the higher option cars actually had power windows and all that, but this car didn't. It's manual windows and drum brakes all around. And some cars did have an AM/FM 8-track radio, which I think was a rare option, or just not a very common option. But it would have gone right there. That's just the AM radio. And this is a non-AC car with a dash out of an AC car, so that's why you see that hole right there. I just put in a little panel with my switch for my power antenna. And over here is where the lines would go if it did have AC, but it don't. And my heater core is still bypassed because it started leaking a few years ago, and I just never got around to getting another one. But yeah, there's what to look out for. Obviously, if you're looking at a Charger, look at the grill, make sure it don't have any cracks in it. Mine's actually really good condition. Some of the trim is a little bumped up, but I think they make replacements. But mine is in very, very good condition. I did have an issue with one of mine. I forget which one it is. And it's right here. One of mine actually broke the plastic right here. You can see the line right there next to the bolts. Right there. I actually glued that back together with some Gorilla Super Glue, and it's been holding strong for a good while now. So if you do have broken pieces, you can repair, just as long as everything's there and not just crumbling all to pieces. But let me go grab my keys and go check out the truck. And here we are at my truck. I'm looking at the trucks. This ride height is actually really good. I don't think these springs were damaged any from all that weight that was sitting in it when I bought the truck. But it sits up high naturally. And I believe the front springs will not have a massive bow in them. They will be pretty straight, but as long as they're intact and not actually inverse too bad, should be okay. But these trucks were built to last, so as long as it wasn't abused really hard, you shouldn't really have anything to worry about. And same thing on here with the wiring. Just the wiring on here is a mess, but check the wiring, make sure all the wiring's good. Look at the brake lines, see if the brake lines are intact. But if it's been sitting for any amount, if it's been sitting for 10 years or more, it needs a very good inspection of the brake system, and go ahead and factor in replacing all of the rubber lines and wheel cylinders everywhere. Because the last thing you want is to be going down the road and your brake system failed because something was leaking or frozen. When I was driving this truck home, I didn't realize it, but the front brakes weren't actually working. I was driving home on the back brakes, which is kind of dangerous, but I made it home. And look for signs that it's been messed with, because this shock was actually bolted on that lower portion right there, that lower bolt hole right there, and it was actually hitting the sway bar. When I originally got this truck, this shock was actually hitting the sway bar and had worn a mark into it, so it had been there a while. These trucks had a bladder for the washer pump, or for the washer reservoir. This one's just completely toast. I would love to have another one, but there it is. Some of these trucks did have air, but I believe this is a, when this had the slant 6, this might have been a dealer add-on later on, but I honestly don't know. But this is a Mopar pump. I was able to find period correct AC brackets and alternator brackets. And for those of y'all that don't know, on the big blocks, whether it be on a car or a truck, the alternator brackets for the standard engines without AC were different from the ones that had AC. And also the harmonic balancer down there, right there, the harmonic balancer and the water pump pulleys were different. So if you're swapping from non-AC to AC, you need all those brackets. You need the brackets that hold the alternator to the car. You need a double pulley for the AC compressor if you have one, and the water pump pulley and all that. But let's go to the inside. Oh yeah, same thing on the Charger. Just looking at the grill, looking at everything, making sure everything's intact. Looking up underneath, making sure nothing's broken or sagging down. This one's actually pretty solid. Let's just look around different areas, like where the hood goes right there, where the water is supposed to drain right there. It looks like it's actually clogged up. I need to drain it out. I got a little bit of rust right there. But on these trucks especially, seems to be a very bad spot to rust was right here in the door jamb. But mine is actually in really good shape all the way around. I can even stand on it if I wanted to. But these trucks, depending on how old you want to go, the gas tanks were actually inside the cab right here. And I've actually restored this gas tank using some I think it was a KB coating or some kind of gas tank coating kit. And you can see this is a very bad repaint. Got paint flicking off everywhere. But if you're getting an old truck, you can pretty much factor in that the floorboard is going to be bad, unless it was stored in a barn somewhere outside of the weather, outside of the elements. You're going to have floorboard problems and gasket problems. Like on the back window, you can see the crack right there in the and the seal, that's like all around. I actually use some black silicone in a few different places to try to patch up some of the bad spots, but I do need to replace that gasket. And it's always nice if you have all the interior pieces. I didn't actually have all the interior pieces on my truck, but I was missing the door panels, and I was just super bummed when it got this truck and it didn't have that. But I got them now, and I'm happy. And ever since it was hit, the door is kind of tight closing and opening, so I might have to readjust my either on my door. Actually, I can adjust that. I need to adjust this to go down just a fraction, and it'll be better. But look at the bed, make sure the bed's as pretty solid. If it is rusted out, you can always repair it, but it's always better if the bed is not rusted out. And this tailgate is in very bad shape. If y'all remember my video from a few years ago, I had to do a interesting patch right there, and I've actually got, you're seeing that right, I got sheet metal screws holding that pipe in on that little cup right there. But ow, getting underneath, looking at everything, and I do need to have these rear leaf springs rebuilt also. The front ones are rebuilt. I will eventually have an 8 3/4 back here. I just don't know how long that's going to take me. And when I do that, I'm going to have these rear leaf springs rebuilt. That way this truck will have a completely rebuilt suspension. I'm really looking forward to that. Look underneath at the bed floor underneath. Look at the frame rails, make sure nothing's too badly rusted out. Pretty much just getting down and dirty, getting underneath everything, looking at everything, every corner and crevice to make sure that you're not missing anything. And if you like the trim, look at the trim, check the condition of the trim. You can see a little bit damaged right there. It's a little crunched up in places. I'm not actually going to be keeping my trim. I'm actually going to be doing a Dodge Dude replica. If y'all hadn't seen that before, look it up. Look up a 1970 Dodge Dude. Don Knotts actually promoted the Dude pickup, and it had a wide stripe, or a C stripe, going down the length right there, and on the back it was a wide stripe going down and then a stripe going forward. And I looked it up, and I found the options were actually for this color with a white top. So what I'm going to do is do the Dodge Dude replica, remove the trim, and I don't know, maybe some of y'all can enlighten me. I don't know if this is original, but I love that stripe on the hood. And this is not an original Adventurer, but that is a Dodge Adventurer emblem. I got that when I got a replacement steering column, which I still need to get another one. But I put that on. I'm going to keep that on when I have this truck painted. I'm going to do this stripe, and whoever's going to redo the stripe for me, I'm actually going to have them do something really creative around this emblem to really tie it in to the stripe, and I cannot wait for that. But yeah, there it is. And as with everything, you just need to remember how rare they are in your area, how badly you want it, and are other people looking at it? Do you think other people are looking at it? If other people are looking at it, and it's only one in your area, or one of very few in your area that you know of, you just need to jump on it. And let's go back to the Charger real quick. When you're looking at numbers matching, that means that the engine, transmission, and the whole drivetrain is what was in the car when it rolled off the assembly line. And I forget which side. I think it might be the right side on the bottom, where the oil pan meets up to the motor. See if I can get my camera focused in. Somewhere along that bottom, it's not going to focus. Somewhere along that bottom edge On the should be a code that matches up to your VIN, or I think on 68 was actually the vehicle some kind of shipping number or something. That doesn't actually match my VIN number. That is supposed to match my build sheet, which I don't have. But the number on the transmission, on the engine, like I said, is on either the left or right side towards, I believe it's towards the back on the side. It's actually small stamped numbers. It's not going to be cast into the block. It's actually going to be some numbers stamped into it. Now on the transmission, it's right under the linkage, I believe. It's, can't reach in there, but it's like right there on this side. You might have to get a rag or something and clear off some gunk. But yeah, that's just a overview of what to look for when you're buying one of these cars. Just don't be afraid to get down and dirty. Get underneath it. Lay on the ground if you have to look underneath and look and feel. And if it doesn't have everything original, and even if it needs a lot of work, always remember that mechanical can always be worked on. Body can always be worked on too, but you have to look at your budget if you can afford to do that. And I really don't like to see people get these cars and immediately take them apart, and they sit and sit and sit, and they eventually sell it as a basket case because they've lost interest in it. Get the cars, fix them up to drive, and enjoy them. I'm calling mine a rolling restoration. I fix stuff, I drive it, I fix stuff, I drive it, and so on. And eventually I'm going to start getting body panels. I'm actually going to start with the trunk because I need the trunk floor and all the surrounding metal. I'm going to start with that. Either that or the driver's floor pan. But yeah, you just have to look at your mechanical ability. If you can do it, I would honestly prefer and suggest that you do your own work. You'll have a higher appreciation for your car. You'll be able to say, I built it, not I paid for it. And that is a very good feeling, to know that your car is going down the road by your own means. You built the motor, you rebuilt the suspension, you put a disc brake kit on it, you put MSD on it, you did all this, and I'm talking about everything I've done. Just do everything yourself and only outsource the things you have to. Like aligning the front end, unless you feel comfortable doing that yourself, and exhaust, unless you feel comfortable doing it yourself. You have the welding ability, or you have pipe benders, or have purchased a universal exhaust kit. I think MagnaFlow sells some. But yeah, there it is. There's an overview of the Charger, what to look for if you're buying one, and what to look for if you're buying an old truck. It's pretty much the same thing, just on a truck. And thank you, and I'll see you later.